Welcome in and welcome back, college football fans, to the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog, the channel created by the college football fan for the college football fan, the channel where we examine, discuss, celebrate, and honor all things college football across the entire college football landscape. In other words, wherever you're from, we've got you covered with all things college football from north to south, east to west, and everywhere in between. I'm your usual host, Blair Parks. It's great to be back with you. Happy Monday afternoon to you and yours. I hope you all had an excellent weekend. As I said, it is Monday, November 18th, and here we are on the eve of another college football playoff rankings that will be dropped on us like an A-bomb tomorrow, 6 o'clock Central Time. Can't wait for that. So that's what I've got on tap for you yet again today. My episode today is my updated and projected college football playoff rankings post Week 12, because the action after Week 12, which transpired over the weekend, absolutely is going to have some effect on how I would project and rate these teams in those college football playoff rankings. If this is your first time with me here on the channel, welcome. If you've been with me for a while, I'd like to thank you for your continued support, your time, your attention, and everything that you've done for the channel here. But I want to keep momentum on the side of the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog, so please tell your family, your friends, your fellow college football fanatics to check me out here on the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog, because this is an absolute pleasure and a hobby for me to be with you on the weekly, sharing my love for all things college football with you, my fellow college football brothers and sisters. So remember, you are the ones who drive these episodes, so I always encourage, welcome, and ask for, even plead for your involvement. Please get involved. Exercise your right, your college football voice. Get involved, comment below, blow up those comment sections, and I promise I will get back to each and every one of you much sooner than later via those comments individually. All I ask is we just keep it clean. We all know how to get along. Let's just be adult about it, and I'd be more than happy to get back to each and every one of you. So please like, share, subscribe, comment, rate, get involved. I can't wait to hear from you. All right, so the criteria that I use to do my CFP rankings, pretty easy. Definitely the eye test goes into it. How do these teams look? Strength of schedule is another big one. Not only what their record is, who have they played, who have they defeated, in some cases, who have they been defeated by, and also a big one, which this is something that really is factoring in to, this is my third week of doing my projected rankings. Also, head-to-head matchups definitely go a long way in this as far as separating where this team lies compared to this team, all right? Now, if this is your first time watching, please do not go absolutely berserk. Remember, these are just projections. I try not to forecast too much. I do look slightly ahead to the upcoming near future, some matchups of the teams I have here on my list. So remember, you might disagree, and if you do, please let me know why via the comments, but your team will have ample time and opportunity to still either rise on this list or lower themselves or drop based on their performance, their wins, and their losses. All right? So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. And what I have done, and I enjoy doing it this way, I will give you my top 12 plus 2. So I will give you my first and second team out. And I also will let you know, as far as the previous week's projection, has this team either moved up or moved down, or maybe they're making their initial appearance on my college football playoff list. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. shall we? Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Can't wait to hear from you. Let's go ahead and start with my top 4, the projected champions from the Power 4, no longer Power 5. So, number 1, the same place where I have them last week, undefeated Oregon, the Ducks. I have them projected as my Big Ten champion. They sit there undefeated at 11-0. Definitely were tested over the weekend against the Badgers inside Camp Randall up there in Madison. What keeps them number 1? They have 2 really excellent wins on the season to no losses. They have home wins over both Ohio State and Boise State, teams that I may have here coming up very shortly on this projection list. So that's my number 1 team, my number 1 seed right now. Number 2, from the SEC, my projected SEC champion, I've got the Alabama Crimson Tide. I have them up 1 spot from last week. Alabama currently sits 8-2 overall. They have big wins at LSU and at home against Georgia. Yeah, that LSU victory is still a solid win, but now that the Tigers have 4 losses, it doesn't look as good. But I'm not going to penalize the Tide for that. But one of those 4 losses by LSU was against USC, who currently is 5-5 in the Big Ten. So victories over the Tigers aren't going to gain you as many points as it would have 1 or even 2 weeks ago. All right. And there are 2 losses, a bad loss at Vanderbilt for the Tide and a good loss on the road at Tennessee against the Volunteers, all right? So that Vanderbilt loss is not a terrible loss for the Crimson Tide, but it is a bad loss. I mean, Vanderbilt has now kind of come back down to earth. Definitely much better than the Vanderbilt that we've been used to the last 5 to 10 years, but still not really an elite team, but a solid team, but not a great team is Vanderbilt. And one thing I forgot to mention as well, and my apologies, that when I project this list, I don't only look at good victories, I also look at bad to terrible losses, because if it were up to me, those have to be weighed at least the exact same, but I actually believe a bad to terrible loss definitely is weighed more heavily than a good to great victory. I mean, they can't just simply cancel each other out, because elite, great teams shouldn't have bad to terrible losses on their resumes. They just shouldn't. All right? So that's my number 2 seed is Alabama. Number 3, up 1 spot from last week, my projected winner of the ACC, the SMU Mustangs. Currently, they're 9-1 overall. They are undefeated in ACC conference play, and they have that really, really big, good victory in non-conference at home with a victory over BYU by 3 points. So SMU right now in the driver's seat. They're the only team in the ACC that doesn't have a conference loss. So the pathway to the ACC title game is right in front of them. All they have to do is just take care of business, and they're going to have a really good chance, win or lose, in the ACC title game to make the 12-team college football playoff. And number 4, my down 2 spots from last week, even though bad loss on Saturday night late at home against Kansas. I've got the BYU Cougars. I still project them to win the Big 12 Conference. I do. I think they are the best team. That loss at home to Kansas, absolutely a bad loss. So for that, I have BYU down 2 spots. My last first round bye team coming in number 4. BYU on the season, they do have 2 really good wins. They do have a conference win at home against K-State, and that win on the road at SMU, as I just mentioned, with their 1 loss coming over the weekend against Kansas. And that K-State victory as well is not going to go as far as it once did. because unfortunately, Kansas State lost Saturday night again at home in Manhattan against the visiting Sun Devils from Arizona State. They found themselves getting forked by Sparky and his crew. So that is my top 4: Oregon, Alabama, SMU, BYU. All right, please let me know what you think about my top 4, my buys. Hit me up, comment, like, share, subscribe. Can't wait to hear from you. And now let's get to my at-large teams. Coming at number 5 this week, exactly where I have them last week from the Big Ten, I've got the Ohio State Buckeyes, 9-1 overall. They do have a really good victory on the road at Penn State by a touchdown, with their one loss, which is a good loss, on the road against the number 1 team, the Oregon Ducks, by 1 point. So Ohio State right now, really, really solid position where they are. Nobody is really going to say they don't deserve to be the first at-large team, because they are an excellent team. They're right where they need to be, and they are going to have the opportunity to play up as long as they, or move up, I should say, my rankings. They just take care of business and perhaps maybe defeat Oregon in the Big Ten title game if it ends up being Ohio State and Oregon. And I'll get to that potential matchup here in a little bit, because there might be an old wrench thrown in the system here if the unbelievable, the unthinkable happens this coming weekend. So that's my number 5 team, is Ohio State. Number 6, up 2 spots from last week from the SEC, I've got the Georgia Bulldogs, currently 8-2. Big win over the weekend on Saturday night at home between the Hedges against the Tennessee Volunteers. 8-2 overall. Good victories for Georgia against Tennessee and also on the road at Texas earlier this season. Their 2 losses, not bad losses at all, on the road at Alabama and at Ole Miss. All right, so Georgia still is right there. I am not counting them out. They do need a little bit of help to get to the SEC title game. They need to have Texas lose one more game. We'll have to see what plays out, because there's a lot to play for here the last 2 weeks within the SEC conference. Really, really fun race we have going on in the Southeastern Conference right now. So I got Georgia, number 6. Number 7, exactly where they were last week, holding down this spot. I've got the Indiana Hoosiers out of the Big Ten, still undefeated, 10-0 on the year. They had a bye week over the weekend, and now it's time for Indiana to either put up or shut up, because granted, yes, do they have a really upper echelon victory against anyone this season? No, they do not. I am not going to penalize them because, hey, they didn't make their schedule. You have to play and take care of the teams on your schedule. That's all you can do. But still, the fact of the matter is they're 10-0. They're undefeated. They've only been challenged really by one team all season long. They've been so consistent. I think they're one of the best teams in the nation as far as the eye test, how they've looked. But this weekend coming up, the big one, Indiana takes their talents on the road to take on mighty Ohio State in Columbus inside the Horseshoe. So Indiana is either going to move up or potentially even move themselves off this list if it ends up being a non-contested loss on the road, a blowout, because they're going to have their hands full with the Ohio State Buckeyes. So I can't wait to watch that game. And just fact of the matter is, if it's any SEC team, if they're 10-0 by now, whether if they've beaten anyone that you could say is a legit victory, they're going to be ranked in the top 5. I mean, they are, because it's an SEC team. All right, so I don't want to hear anything about, oh, they haven't beaten anybody. True, but they're going to have their opportunity this coming weekend. All right. Number 8, up 3 spots from last week. I also have from the Big Ten, the Penn State Nittany Lions, 9-1 overall. They went on the road over the weekend, absolutely dismantled lonely Purdue. I mean, in shutout fashion in West Lafayette. Their only loss this season was a 7-point loss at home against Ohio State. So overall, Penn State doesn't really have that really jump out at you kind of victory, but their strength of schedule is very solid. They do have numerous victories over bowl-eligible teams, unlike Indiana has, but I keep Penn State behind Indiana because they do have that one loss. All right, so Penn State in good position, but their room for error is pencil thin, just like it is for Indiana. Moving forward, at number 9, I have them exactly where they were last week, and I get it. Some of you don't like how I have this team here, but bear with me. From the SEC, I have the Texas Longhorns are my number 9 seed, 9-1 overall. The only loss, not a bad loss at all, at home against Georgia. But Texas, like some of the other teams on this list, do not have that really upper echelon quality victory. They just don't. They're still searching for that, and they will have their opportunity the last game of the year. Thanksgiving weekend, they're on the road at Kyle Field against Texas A&M. Over the weekend, they did pull out the road victory over Arkansas, 20-10 down in Fayetteville. But I still don't, it's hard for me to pinpoint just how good or bad this Texas team is because they haven't, like I said, they haven't played great opponents, and their best victory to this point might be a 3-point win on the road against Vanderbilt. I mean, they don't really necessarily have a great argument to say we should be ranked higher than this, Blair. I say, I'm sorry, you haven't beaten anybody and you have a loss. All right. So like Indiana and Penn State, Texas, to me, does not have a lot of room for error. They need to win out. And if they do that, I will applaud them, but they will have proved me wrong. They win out, they'll get to the SEC title game, and at that point, win or lose, they're going to be in the playoff. And at that point, deservedly so. All right? So Texas, you got some work to do. All right? I'm sorry, Texas fans. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just being real with you. Okay? All right, next, number 10, right where they were last week, I've got the Independent, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, currently 9-1 overall. They took care of business over the weekend. Again, they're really good wins they have, or one good win. They did win early in the season, week 1 on the road at Texas A&M, but their loss, a really bad, terrible loss. They lost at home early in the season against mighty NIU, the Northern Illinois University Huskies from the MAC conference. So Notre Dame is just one of those teams that's hard to really figure out too. I mean, one of, if not the best road victory all year of anybody in college football, but then arguably the worst, if not the worst home loss of anybody in college football the entire season. But Notre Dame, their record, and when you watch this team, they look like one of the 12 best teams in the nation. They do. But like a lot of other teams, they cannot absolutely suffer one more loss, and they're going to be tested this weekend as they face off with highly ranked and undefeated Army, the Cadets. I believe they're playing this game at Yankee Stadium. Can't wait to watch that. And then the last game of the year, Notre Dame travels west to take on their arch rival USC. So a couple of tough games remaining for the Fighting Irish, but if they find themselves 11-1, they're going to get into the playoff. It's as simple as that. All right? Number 11, up 2 spots from last week. For the last couple weeks, actually, I've had them my first team out, but welcome officially to the list. I've got the Texas A&M Aggies from the SEC, and I feel like A&M is that team that no one is really talking about. They've kind of been forgotten. Currently, they're 8-2 overall. They have only one loss in the SEC play. They have good victories at home against Missouri and LSU. They do have that loss at home, as I mentioned, against Notre Dame, and a loss on the road in Columbia, South Carolina against the Gamecocks. And that South Carolina team is on fire right now, playing some of the best football of anybody in the nation. So I can't harm, or I can't punish the Aggies too much, because, and this is why I believe they're kind of forgotten in this mix, is if they win out, they're going to get to the SEC title game, and there they are with one loss. So they're right up there atop, tied with Texas for leading the SEC. And people have completely forgotten about them. But if they take care of business, they get to the SEC title game, and win or lose, they're going to find their way in to the college football playoff. Will the Aggies? And last but not least, where I had them last week, I have my highest conference champ from the group of 5 ranks, the Boise State Broncos. They got down early this past weekend, 14-0 on the road against the Spartans from San Jose State, but they came back, cruised in the fourth quarter to victory. Currently, they're 9-1 overall. They do have a solid victory at home against Washington State, and their only loss was on the road at number 1 Oregon by a mere field goal. All right, so that is my top 12. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, rate. Let me know what you think. Now let me share with you my first 2 teams out. And after what happened this weekend, my first team out that tumbled 7 spots, I have the Tennessee Volunteers. Tennessee currently has 2 losses overall. They have this one loss that they sustained over the weekend at Georgia, but also another loss on the road earlier this year at Arkansas. Not a terrible loss, but probably a bad loss. And Tennessee could very well find themselves back in to my college football playoff rankings if they simply take care of business and a couple teams ahead of them maybe falter. All right, so Tennessee, so Vol fans, remember, you've still got plenty of time and opportunity to get back on the right side of this list. And my second team out, exactly where I had them last week, I've got from the ACC, the Miami Hurricanes. They did suffer that one loss a couple weeks ago on the road at Georgia Tech down in Atlanta. And yes, they don't necessarily have a great victory either against anyone. We all thought that opening week victory on the road down in the swamp against Florida was going to end up being a big victory. I mean, they absolutely embarrassed the Gators. And Florida has played much better here in the second half of the season. They knocked off LSU over the weekend, excuse me. But I don't know. I think for Miami, they have to win out, get to the ACC title game, and win the ACC title. I believe SMU can maybe lose in the ACC title game and potentially still get in as an at-large, but I don't see that for Miami, at least at this point. But I know a lot of people believe Miami, that's their projected winner of the ACC, and that could happen. But right now, I just think SMU has a better profile, and I believe they're a better team from the ACC. All right, and just to go ahead and round out the top 20, I thought I'd go ahead and give you the best of the rest. My next team off my list would be the undefeated Army Black Knights, followed by the Ole Miss Rebels. Then we have Colorado, the Buffaloes, and Coach Prime and his boys playing great football. After Colorado, fellow Big 12 team Arizona State, the Sun Devils, really flying under the radar, and they've got a chance to play their way into the Big 12 title game. Huge matchup this weekend. They host BYU. Huge game as far as Big 12 and playoff ramifications on the line for both teams. After Arizona State, number 19, I've got the South Carolina Gamecocks playing great football. And finally, number 20, I've got the Clemson Tigers out of the ACC. All right, guys and girls, that is my episode for today. My updated, projected college football playoff rankings post Week 12. Please let me know what you think about my list and respond to any of my hot takes, my opinions, what I presented. Please go ahead. The floor is yours. Fill up that comment section. Let me know what you think. Do you agree or disagree? Do you believe this team should be higher lower, this team should be off the list, who should be removed, who should be added. I can't wait to hear from you, so please get involved. Use your voice. Can't wait to hear from you. I will be back later this week, Thursday, for my normal episode. It'll be my Week 13 preview and picks episode. You definitely don't want to miss that. So please click on that notifications button so you'll get the heads up. You'll get dinged and belled when that episode is up for your viewing pleasure. Thank you for all that you've done, for your continued support, your time, your attention. It's an absolute pleasure and a thrill for me to be here with you and just have so much fun with another college football season, even though the weeks are getting really short. I can't believe we're almost already on the backstretch out of turn 4, and the finish line is in sight already. All right, so tune in tomorrow. The curtain comes up tomorrow, 6 o'clock, for the updated official college football playoff rankings, or find me on Thursday. So until then, thank you for everything you do for the channel. Please like, share, rate, comment, subscribe. Until Thursday, enjoy the rest of your work week, your school week, and I'll see you then on the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. Go Hawks. Bye-bye.